Maybe the most important presidential election in my lifetime happened in the year 2000 between George W. Bush and Al Gore, with a side order of Ralph Nader. This is a map of the eastern half of the United States in the 2000 presidential election. It shows a bunch of blue states won by Al Gore and the Democrats, and a bunch of red states won by George W. Bush and the Republicans. But this wasn't any old map. It was a magic map. Because this isn't just a map of America in the year 2000. It's also a map of America in the year 1860. The only difference is these blue states up here, these weren't just Al Gore Democratic states. In 1860, they were free states. And these red states, these weren't just George W. Bush Republican states. In 1860, they were slave states. You can't say, slavery, that don't count. That was so long ago. Ain't no slaves. It hasn't been for quite a while. But you know what? A former slave could have babysat me when I was 5 years old. It wasn't that long ago. And I know Republicans like to call themselves the party of Lincoln, because Lincoln was the first Republican president. But the parties flip-flopped in the last century. What used to be Republican is now Democrat. And what used to be Democrat is now Republican. Republicans aren't the party of Lincoln anymore. They're the party of John Wilkes Booth. If you don't believe me, ask a black person. Ask them which is the party of the rich plantation-owning slave master and which is the party of the bleeding-heart liberal abolitionists. They'll tell you. They'll tell you good. Well, we all know the richest 1% in America own nearly 40% of America's wealth. And you don't have to be Oliver Stone to know that if you own nearly 40% of America's wealth, you can afford to have your own political party to, look after your interests. And that's what today's Republican Party is. They're the guardians of the 1%. Democrats are the guardians of the 99%. Well, trying to be anyway. So theoretically, Democrats should win every election 99-1, but they don't. That's partly because of their own fault, but also because the 1% have a lot of helpers. I don't just mean the richest 10% who look at the 1% and think, I feel you, my brother. That's not enough. They also need some broke motherfuckers. They need millions of people without a lot of money to act against their own best interests and the best interests of their family and friends. Basically shoot themselves in the foot. The connection to slavery comes from a meme I found on the internet. All those Southern rebels were fighting and dying for the right of rich people to own slaves. Those rebels traded real power, like money, property, that kind of shit, for this imaginary power. Well, I look like them and I'm not black, so I must be like one of them. No, you're not. Less for you is more for them, and that's all you're ever going to mean to them. They're playing us for suckers. They're real good at it.